Hey everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are talking about my review of the Netflix Bridgerton TV show. And if you have not heard about Bridgerton or seen Bridgerton, I don't know what rock you are living under, but this particular series I was super excited about for a long time because, as most of you know, I am a huge Julia Quinn fan. I have read all the Bridgerton books before, and in preparation for this Netflix series, I actually went back and read all of the books in the series and reread them all. So I was super excited to see how they would adapt this story to a television series, especially being Netflix, because Netflix is known for changing a lot of things and making things a little more raunchy than they need to be. So I was a little worried, but I was actually okay with the series. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I liked, what I disliked, and some differences from the book and the TV show. So if you have not read the books or if you have not seen the series as a whole, then just be prepared because there will be lots of spoilers in this particular video. So just keep that in mind if you don't want to be spoiled. But if you're like me and you've already seen it and read the books, and if you don't care about spoilers, then carry on because it's going to be a spoilerish video. So the first thing we're talking about is what I liked. The very first thing I really loved about the series is the imagery. They did a really good job of just making it very aesthetically pleasing. The colors were great, the scenes were great. Was it historically accurate? Probably not. I don't think they were going for historical accuracy on this one at all, but it was beautiful scenery. Really, every single shot of the TV series looked like it could be on someone's Instagram page. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. The dresses were beautiful, the hair, everything was just gorgeous. And I think that you can tell they put a lot of time into how to shoot different scenes to make it look really nice and to kind of draw you into that fantasy-like feel, which is exactly the feeling you get when you read a historical romance. It's like drawing you into this magical time in history where these two people are going to fall in love. And I think they really got that feeling across well. So good job to whoever did all the designing of the scenes and the sets, because they did a wonderful job with it. Number two, I loved that they broke the color barrier. Again, is it historically accurate for there to have been people of color in the ton back then? Absolutely not. Of course, we know not. They do say that Queen Charlotte was probably either black or mixed, but again, historically they don't know that for sure. But I really enjoyed that they didn't care about something like that they just hired actors on how well they could portray the characters, which I really appreciated. And I think that they did a good job of casting everyone. That the actors and actresses that they picked were very close to how I imagined those characters to be in the book, as far as the way they carried themselves, the way they spoke, and how they actually portrayed that character. So very impressed, and I love that they were like, we don't care about that. We're just gonna cast a good actor and not care about the fact that he's a person of color. So good for you. Thank you for not caring and for casting the appropriate people in the appropriate parts. Number three, I loved that romance still remained the main focus of the series. I was really worried that in trying to make it more interesting for TV, that they would focus on things that really weren't as important, but pleasantly surprised that romance did remain the main focus. Now, it may have been romance with lots of different characters, but it was still overall arching theme of love and romance was still what wrapped the whole series up and made it work, right? So I'm glad that still remained the focus, which is why we like to read romance novels as romance novel fans, because it's love, romance, and it ends happily, and that's what we're going for. Number four, this one's going to be a little bit controversial, but I'll go ahead and talk about it. And I like that they cleaned up the rape scene in the book. In the book, for those of you who are not familiar, there is a scene where Simon and Daphne, how they end up fighting because he is drunk and he passes out, and she basically manhandles him while he's sleeping, gets him all interested, and it ends up being a situation where he tells her no and she does it anyway. And in this particular TV series, they did clean that scene up. Is it 100% an accurate scene? that doesn't have questions and improper bits to it, no, but it's better than it was in the book. At least in this scene, it doesn't come across as rapey, which I think was a good thing, because if they had included it exactly as how the book was written, there would be people like probably, I don't know, boycotting the show or whatever, because it was definitely an inappropriate scene in the book. So anyways, I'm glad they cleaned that up, and it was at least better. It's still not right, but it's better. And then the last one, number 5, I am glad that we saw more of the Featheringtons in the book, or than in the book, because in the book they're mentioned or talked about, but you don't really see them in detail until later books. I'm happy that they were like an actual part of the series, and that we got to see more of Penelope, who is one of my favorite characters in the whole series. So love that. And I absolutely loved Eloise, and the actress they chose to do Eloise is like perfect, exactly what you would picture her as being. All right, so what are the things I did not like about the series? I did not like the way that Anthony was portrayed in the series. In the books, he is this like older brother who loves his siblings, who's reliable, and he's there for them, and he has a very close relationship with his sister, and he's close to his mother. In this TV series, he comes across as kind of a jerk, honestly. He comes across as just like this guy who's like a rake and doesn't really care. He has words with his mother in one scene. I just didn't care for his portrayal. I like the actor they chose, but I didn't care for his portrayal in this particular adaptation. I just didn't like it. I didn't like how he came across. The next thing is I did not like the opera singer storyline with Anthony. In the book series, in Anthony's particular book, she is mentioned on like maybe 5 pages. There isn't this like grand in-depth thing that they had going on in this Netflix series. Now, I don't know why they included it. I'm not really sure, but we'll talk about more about that when we talk about differences from the book to the movie. But let's just say I didn't care for the opera singer thing. I didn't like the way they portrayed Benedict either. I just don't know what the reason for the storyline was. Benedict is talked about more later in the series. I think that the purpose is they're trying to give more backstory, maybe, because they're trying to make it where like you're interested in these characters so that you will come back to further seasons and see what happens to them, maybe. But I just felt like some of it was like, well, that was never in the book. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just didn't care for it. Some of it I didn't like. And then the other thing that I didn't like was the relationship between Daphne and Simon at the beginning. It came across more like enemies to lovers kinds of thing. But in the book, they were more friends to lovers. They actually were friends, and they got along really well. So I didn't really care that they kind of made them kind of fighting a little bit at the beginning. Not really true fighting, but just more like they didn't like each other, which in the book, they actually immediately got along and were friends. So it doesn't really hurt the series overall. It's just a difference from the series, from the book series. Differences from book to movie. The main difference I saw right off the bat was that this is actually not Daphne's first season. In the TV show, she is being debuted, and it's her very first season that she's out in society and trying to find a husband. But in the book series, Daphne has actually been out in society for a couple of years, which is why she makes this pact with Simon, because she has been basically like not having no one that she's interested in. Like, she's had a couple marriage offers that Anthony has allowed her to turn down at the time, and she's like, I can't find anybody that I really want to marry, so if you show that you're interested in me, all these good guys are going to come out of the woodwork and want to marry me. So it was not her first season. She had been on the marriage mart for a few years, but again, I don't really think that change really hurts the series at all. It doesn't really matter, honestly, but it's just a difference that I noticed. Another thing is that Lord Featherington in the books has already passed away, so he's actually not a character in the actual Duke and I book. He has already passed, and it's just the mother, Lady Featherington, and the daughters that are trying to find husbands. For them, it's not actually in the Duke and I. The Queen is not a part of the books. She's mentioned, but she's not, doesn't have any page time. So the Queen is totally just a Netflix series thing, but I actually really like the character of the Queen. I think she's a fun addition to the show, but she's not book accurate. Then I mentioned this before, that Sienna, who's the opera singer, is given much more page time than she's actually given in the book. The book, she literally has maybe 4 or 5 pages of page time. And in the Netflix series, her and Anthony's relationship is a big part of this first series. Now, I didn't care for that, but I think I know why they're doing it. Like, I didn't care for it because, and this is a big spoiler, but Anthony in his book, which is book 2, has never been in love with anyone before. And he is all about just duty and trying to be a good Viscount and taking care of the family. He's not about like relationships, and that's why him falling in love with Kate in the book is such a big deal, because he's never allowed himself to have a relationship. She's his first love. So to have this backstory with Sienna, which he obviously has feelings for in the Netflix series, is a contrast to his actual book. But I think the Netflix series is doing this to create more of a backstory for him and to make people more interested in Anthony, so that they want to go back and watch season 2 and see what happens to him, is what I'm thinking. It's not really a big deal, but it's just a different... It's going to be interesting to see how they do the second season, if they do a second season, because his story is going to change a little bit based on that change. So it'll be interesting to see how they swing it. The other thing is that Marina Thompson does not exist in The Duke and I. She is a character in the series. I can't remember what book it is, but she's in Eloise's book as the wife of Lord Philip. So Lord Philip is a character as well. And so she does exist in that she is George's fiance, and he gets killed in the war. And so Philip marries her and they have children, and then she dies. So she is a character, but she's never an actual character on the page. She's mentioned, but she's not like in any great detail. Like, there's this whole story of her coming out in society and going to balls and being engaged to Colin. All that didn't exist in any of the book. That's totally made up for the series. I don't dislike it because, again, it gives her a backstory. And I think that if they continue with the series and they get through each of the characters' love stories, it's going to give Eloise's, like, her season and that love story between her and Lord Philip, it's going to have an awesome backstory that's going to really make people drawn into it, but it's not book accurate at all. Next one, Daphne and Simon actually separate for a short period of time in the book. I didn't really see that in the Netflix series, but after they have that big falling out and, she's like, well, let me know if you're pregnant, that kind of thing. They actually separate for, I think it's like a 2-month period of time that they're not together. In the series, it shows them together going out in society and doing things. It doesn't really show them like purely separated, but they actually fully separate in the book for a couple of months. And then the last one I noticed was that we don't find out who Lady Whistledown is until later on in the series. I was really surprised that they spilled the beans on it in the first season of the series, because that was kind of the mystery in the first, I would say 3-4 books, is who is Lady Whistledown and how does she know all of this stuff and where she knows information, and the mystery of like, I'm reading because I want to see who Lady Whistledown is. So I was really shocked that they came out with that it was Penelope, because I didn't think that they would drop the beans on that or spill the beans on that right off the bat like that, but they did. I don't really think it's going to hurt the series. It's just going to be interesting that we will know it's Penelope, but everyone else won't know it's Penelope for the next season. So we'll see. I really liked this show. Overall, it is a Netflix show. I'll be honest with you. It's a little raunchier than I like my shows to be. It is rated mature. I don't care for that. I think that they made it too much of a focus of the show, but I'm an old stodgy person, so that's fine. When it comes to that stuff, I'm like an old person, but I don't like that stuff. I don't think it's necessary, but I do think they did a very good job of really keeping the overall theme and feel of the book, even though they did make some changes. So I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing a season 2 if they do a season 2. And this is one of the better adaptations that I've seen. I've seen some really terrible book to movie and book to TV show adaptations. I think part of this might be because Julia Quinn was actually involved in some of the process, and therefore I'm sure she had a little bit of say at least on how things went, but I really liked it and I'm anxious to see what they do with it in the future. So my review here is probably not as in-depth or as cool as everybody else's review, but this is my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. If you did a review of the Bridgerton Netflix series, leave me some comments below and let me know what you think, or leave me a link to your video. All right, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye.